Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Excuse me, members of the council. My pleasure this evening to be able to introduce the Chair of the Transportation Commission, Mrs. Nancy Nelson. She is in her fourth term now as Chair of the Commission and has done great service to the city as a volunteer and leading that particular commission for this number of years. And she is here this evening to tell you about the activities of the commission over the last year and hopefully answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Les.
Thank you, Les. Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. It is a good group to work with, and it seems this year we have done more to address or learn about regional issues than we have in the past. Most recently with considering the draft environmental impact statement for the Highway 95 alignment. Our primary concerns were connecting the new highway alignment with the existing roads and connecting to a possible bypass to State Highway 8 in the future. Also, we were concerned about maintaining city standards of pedestrian and bike facilities. Our conversation concluded with an agreement that we supported the comments and concerns of the Planning and Zoning Commission, which had noted these as well. And we appreciated also the thoughtful comments of staff, which looked at the needs of the city, we thought quite clearly. This winter, we also learned about the airport runway realignment with a presentation from the Moscow Pullman Airport Director Tony Bean, and learned of the scope of that proposal, how important it is for maintaining our transportation system, and also how it connects to surface roads as well. Recently, we also discussed the proposed legislation that would allow the local jurisdictions to approve heavier trucks on state roads. The Commission submitted a letter to Council opposing such an increase, urging lawmakers to consider the cost and safety and highway damage if heavier trucks are allowed. And we know that this is an issue that's still in flux and currently being considered. We also discussed the impact of increased truck traffic through downtown Moscow due to the expansion of the Port of Lewiston and US 95 South. We will be requesting, in the form of a letter submitted to Council, that the U.S. Department of Transportation consider mitigation of the impacts of traffic here. All of those regional issues seem to connect with how do they impact our roads here. And many of them specifically could be addressed to when and where might a future bypass road for Moscow be considered. And at an upcoming meeting, we will be discussing questions regarding this. Are there any changes that should be considered to our existing plan for a bypass for State Highway 8 in light of the 95 realignment, or other changes in land use development? Also, we would like to talk about what our threshold is for needing a bypass. The state certainly has its view of when roads need to be expanded, but I suspect that the local view is somewhat different, and we should discuss it and determine from our viewpoint when a road might be needed. How much heavy traffic can we tolerate? Also, we expect to consider a bypass in terms of quadrants, addressing needs. We, of course, talked about many local transportation issues. And regarding transit, we had a transit summit that was organized by Carl Root with the goal of learning about the funding that supports local transit and considering what is needed to keep a transit system sustainable. The meeting involved many stakeholders, and we identified their shared interests. The question now will be, does the shared interest result in a shared cost of support? We also considered intercity bus service to Pullman and had a presentation from a private provider supporting private as well as supporting public are considered both part of the transportation system. We looked at street facilities as well. We reviewed calming projects in and around the University of Idaho. At our last meeting, we considered a proposed bridge across Paradise Creek at F Street. Although there is no development east of that proposed bridge, the request prompted a discussion about planning for development in a way that makes facilities safe and effective for all users. considering problems in the past when construction didn't anticipate potential conflicts that eventually came between vehicles and pedestrians and bicycle transportation, we'd like to be able to plan more wisely in the future. Earlier this year, the Commission identified some of these conflicts and stated a goal of using grade separation whenever possible and appropriate for safe bicycle and vehicle traffic separation. In the future, we'd like to consider to continue to be involved in the completion of the multimodal transportation plan. Although the Commission's role was not clearly defined early in the process, we did help with gathering community input regarding the plan, and Commission members reviewed the draft description of Moscow's existing transportation system, the fact book. Also, we continue to hope that the Council will take up the proposed street standards, which we concluded, I think, well over a year ago. If there is a problem with that, we'd be interested in knowing what changes might need to be considered. We have also worked on mapping a master bicycle plan, and the Paradise Task Force is no longer meeting on a regular basis, and their chair, Margaret Littlejohn, has joined us in our meetings, which seems to be actually an organizational opportunity that combines a shared interest. Members of the Commission continue to work well together with the goal of providing community input for staff and council on transportation-related topics. We recently welcomed Council Member Wayne Krause as our new council liaison. We have a diverse set of experiences which certainly strengthens our Commission. We have one vacancy at this time. And if there are any questions, I would be happy to answer them if I am able.
Thank you, Nancy, and we appreciate all the good work that you and the Transportation Commissioners do. It's a big job. It can be unwieldy, and you've brought great order and logic to that process, and I think the diversity of ideas represented on the Commission are valuable to the outcomes, and so I think your recommendations to the Council and me are received with great credibility and respect. Thank you. Wayne.
Thanks, Nancy. What was that one item I didn't quite catch that you said you sent to the council and haven't had a response back? What was that?
Street standards.
I thought that's what you said,
Yes.
street standards. Okay.
Have you seen that?
I haven't seen that.
I haven't
How
seen
come we
that.
haven't seen that?
Gary, Les,
Les?
is it supposed to be
I
before
bet
us?
Les may have an
Nancy,
answer.
we
I
haven't
have
seen that
this.
yet.
This
We'll
has
follow
been,
up on that.
See
Thank you very
that.
much.
It's been waiting down the bookshelves in my office for on and off
Indeed,
Yeah.
for
it
years.
represents a great deal of work.
Yeah, Les, what do you think?
There was a great deal of work done with the Transportation Commission on developing some recommendations for new street standards. They are part of a larger package of standard drawings coming out of the Engineering Division of Public Works. We've been attempting to get those forward to the council for some time. Obviously, things like project development tend to get in the way. And so right now, of course, we're sending projects out for bid, but I know they are getting fairly close. And I still anticipate seeing those hopefully sometime this spring coming forward to the committees and to council for consideration.
And I think it would be a nice complement to the multimodal transportation plan that's still developing as well. So, sounds like it's coming up, Nancy.
Okay.
Good job mentioning it.
I can understand
Just finish
how
up.
it gets.
No, Les, that wasn't a form of gotcha. We didn't play that. So just kind of the way it comes out sometimes. Nancy, you do an excellent job of running the commission. Thank you very much. Thank you to all your commission members. They fill a very valuable role within the city and a very valuable service for the city as well as for the council in bringing fresh ideas as well as a good work ethic, too. Thank you very much for your service.
It is a pleasure.
Other council members with questions or comments for Nancy? Okay.
No, I think two of us up here served for about 9 years on the Transportation Commission before jumping onto the City Council, so it's exciting to see how well it continues to function. Thank you.
If you continue to be puzzled as to why the council doesn't respond to you, see Stephanie Collage. She has the City Council,
Speed dial?
she has the City Council, the forms where you can run for City Council, as some of us have done. So thank you for
Yes.
bringing that up.
I know it does happen. And I do know how immediate projects become much more interesting. It was a thrill to pick up the paper the other day and have the D Street sidewalk plan go out to, where are we at? Proposals for design, I think, design. So I do actually, I am looking more forward to the sidewalk than I am to the street standards. So,
Great.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you again, Nancy.
thanks.